Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Dallas-Fort Worth. Maria Bartholdi here in the booth, joined by Kenji Igashira. We are in round 10 here in the building as draft kicks off this morning. This is the first draft and the first round. Seth Manfield versus Aaron Rubin. Seth Manfield currently at 8-1. Aaron Rubin undefeated, one of 5 undefeated players left in the building. So we're going to see if he can remain undefeated or the best in the world will be able to take him down.
Ooh, we've got a black-white mirror match here.
Yes, we do.
Where was Aaron sitting in relation to Seth?
Aaron was sitting in seat 6, and Seth was sitting in seat 4.
Oh, my. Okay,
wow.
yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a Drudge Sentinel from Aaron Rubin, so that might be a little bit of what we expect. A memorial to glory on Seth's side of the battlefield.
Drudge Sentinel, certainly not the best black card that you're going to play in your deck, but I mean,
he had attacks for 2 right here.
Yeah, sometimes it does some work, notably versus the bigger decks, the decks that are trying to ramp into something, say a Grun.
I always think that it must be a 1-2 for some reason. That's a 2-1.
Well, old school Drudge has 1 power, you know.
Aven Sentry here for Aaron Rubin, 3-2 flyer. Perfectly fine card.
Well, from what I remember, Seth had a little bit of a faster deck, so surprised he didn't have a 2 or 3 drop there.
Baird Steward of Argive here for Seth Manfield. 2-4 Vigilance requires your opponent to pay the attacking tax, as it were. 1 mana for each creature that's attacking.
I don't think Aaron's going to mind paying a mana to get in 3 damage.
No.
Lightning Bolt.
Here we go. Aven Sentry in for 3 will knock Seth down to 7. Oh, he should actually have 2 points off his life.
Yeah, he should be at 15 now.
15. And Thalid Omnivore, the follow-up here for Aaron Rubin. How do you like this card outside of Saproling strategies?
I think it's still just very good. Again, cards with threat of activation can really make it hard for your opponent to play around. Oftentimes they're going to need to block with multiple creatures to deal with the Omnivore itself, or have multiple tricks. Granted, Rubin doesn't really have the creatures that you want to sacrifice right now, but
right.
I mean, the Drudge does nothing versus Baird, so we will just have to see.
Fungal Infection I spotted in Aaron Rubin's hand.
That's a good one.
By the way.
Very, very good versus Baird. In relation to the Omnivore being able to attack in, Baird blocks. Fungal Infection, I don't even need to sacrifice a creature.
Mishra's Self-Replicator here from Seth Manfield.
All right. Seth's not under too much pressure, so he might have time to build out his board, and that actually could be one of the reasons why we didn't see him run out anything on one of the earlier turns. He might be holding a decent number of cheaper historic cards that he wants to let the Replicator trigger off of.
All right, we're going to pay the tax. In comes the Omnivore as well as the Aven Sentry, and we know about that Fungal Infection in Aaron Rubin's hand. Seth here deciding whether or not he wants to block that Omnivore.
I mean, Rubin's holding up 3 mana, which you can just use 1 of it to sacrifice the skeleton, so Seth here is taking the consideration of, well, do I want to trade my Baird for the Sentinel right now? But little does he know, Aaron actually has a better use of this.
And there we go. The block and the Fungal Infection will take down Baird and give Aaron a Saproling token.
And then, again, one of the things about Omnivore is just the threat of activation. Seth was willing to trade basically his Baird for that Drudge Sentinel there, but turns out Aaron had slightly better use or card to deal with that. And now, you know, the Sentinel can attack into the Replicators.
Yeah, just 1 little Self-Replicator here for Seth Manfield, although his deck is set up pretty well to be able to copy.
I imagine by the time Seth passes this turn, he's going to have a few more. Or at least 1.
I hope so.
At least 1.
All right. Pardic Wanderer here for Seth.
Oh, that's the, what's his, Guardians.
Oh, excuse me, Guardians, yes.
He does love a good Pardic Wanderer, though.
He does.
We do know that.
So he's able to make 1 Self-Replicator. We saw a bunch on the table yesterday in one of our sealed matches, which was pretty fun.
That was your buddy Sam, right?
Yeah, that was Sam. Sam at 7-2 today. All right, Aven Sentry getting in here for 3. Seth Manfield already down to 9. And a Thallid Soothsayer for Aaron Rubin.
Okay, I was slightly confused why Aaron didn't opt to attack with the Omnivore there. I think he would have been fine sacking even just the Sapling that he had. But it looks like he wants to save his extra creatures to draw some extra cards with that Soothsayer.
There's a Sanctum Spirit and a Deathbloom Thallid for Manfield.
Yeah, this ground game is getting really gummed up.
Yeah, still no way to deal with that Sentry for Seth.
The Sanctum Spirit's a nice little recovery method, though.
Sure.
It can gain some life. The problem is Aaron having that Drudge Sentinel, rather. If Seth attacks the 3-2 into Aaron, Aaron just blocks with the 2-1. Seth is forced to discard if he wants to keep his creature alive, and Aaron can just pay 3 mana to give it indestructible.
Yeah, Aaron Rubin able to get another attack with that Sentry. Seth Manfield falling down to 6.
Yeah, I think if Seth does attack with the Sanctum Spirit, what's more likely to happen is that Aaron blocks the Sapling, sacrifices it to the Soothsayer before damage,
right,
and keeps Seth on that 2-turn air clock.
We do know Seth has a couple of pieces of removal for that Sentry in his deck, including a Cast Down and an Eviscerate.
Ah, Pegasus.
Oh, Pegasus Courser.
Well, that actually doesn't do anything, does it?
Well, you know, it can block for a turn.
Yeah, it jumps for a turn, but Aaron just going to take this game with the Sentry if Seth can't find a removal spell in the next few draw steps.
Yeah, Seth is out of cards. Currently, he does have that Memorial to Glory on the battlefield, but that, yet again, is just adding to the ground game.
Yeah, that's the reason why he played out that land, by the way. A lot of times you want to maybe just feign a trick if you can, but he realizes, well, this is not doing anything in my hand. I have the Memorial that I can use if I do play it out.
Flyer's very good in Dominaria.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you're in Aaron's position, can't quite tell what's in his hand, but the Sentry is just your main game plan here.
Yeah. All right, he's going to draw a card, actually. Off of the Soothsayer was another land. I think it's a Knight of New Benalia left in his hand in a land.
And that's fine. He still has some other creatures that he can block and sacrifice so that Seth doesn't gain any life. But the problem is now Seth, with that Pegasus, can just fly the Sanctum Spirit over Aaron.
Sure.
And
excuse me, a Benalish Honor Guard.
And I think that's why Aaron was sacrificing the Sapling during his main phase. He was hoping to find an answer to deal with that Pegasus, because now this is a race that actually favors Seth. Like, Seth will keep going down back to 3,
right,
but up 6, down 3, up, so it's...
Seth at 3 right now. Here we go. In comes the Spirit and the Pegasus. All right.
Here we go.
All right, we're going to sacrifice that Honor Guard, actually, to draw a card for Aaron Rubin, who's trying to find removal now.
Yeah, 2-2 not entirely too relevant right now in this board position.
Seth back up to 6. All right, in comes the Sentry. Oh, a Vicious Offering in hand. And ooh!
That's a good way to win a game.
Okay. Lyra Dawnbringer hits the table for Aaron Rubin. How about a 5/5 flying lifelink first striking angel?
Yeah, Seth has 1 turn.
All right, Seth, what do you got?
He can't draw Cast Down. It has to be Eviscerate.
Wow, Aaron Rubin, what a card.
Yeah, Aaron was already in a pretty good position prior to drawing the Dawnbringer, but that obviously is going to swing the tides.
All right, here's an attack from Seth. Sanctum Spirits coming in with no help from the Pegasus.
So this slightly smells of desperation, or maybe having a combat trick that can eat the Lyra.
Right.
Aaron's not obligated to block here if he doesn't want to, save for on the Sanctum Spirit. He can just block the Spirit with, say, the Sentinel, and then sack it before the damage, as we were talking earlier. He could just take the hit for 7, not really worry about it.
Yeah, and Seth is just going to scoop him on up. Aaron Rubin, with the help of Lyra Dawnbringer, takes down game 1 here in this match versus the number 1 player, Seth Manfield. And we have recorded these matches. They just happened mere moments ago, but that's how we're able to show you so much magic here on day 2. And we are right away into game 2.
So even though Seth wasn't passing many white cards to the left during the draft,
no,
Lyra's a good reason to.
I was going to say, now we know how this happened.
Because these players were only sitting, what, you said 2 away from each other?
Yes. Deathbloom Thal, the first play of the game here, is for Seth Manfield. Pretty good 3-drop.
These players also had access to each other's deck lists before the match, so Seth knew that Lyra was in Aaron's deck, and Aaron's going to know how many removal spells Seth has that can deal with Lyra.
Valid in for 3, an Easter Glider there for Rubin. Can't block. Sanctum Spirit for Seth.
Yeah, good starting curve here from Seth. Aaron's going to quickly fall behind if he doesn't have either a removal spell or a good enough blocker.
In comes the Glider for 2. See a Saga in Aaron's hand as well.
Okay.
I want to say it's the same one that Seth has.
The right?
Yeah, right of Belzenlock.
He might have opened that one as well.
Vicious Offering is going to take down the Sanctum Spirit.
Yeah, and that's good just to use it now, because being in white, or even in black, Seth has access to potential pump effects, and again, Aaron knows about them.
Deathbloom Thalid in for another 3, knocks Aaron down to 14. Danitha, Capuchin Paragon there for Seth Manfield. One of 2 he has in the deck. Even Sentry looks like is going to potentially be the play here from Aaron. Oh, might be reconsidering.
Yeah, Sentry's not something you're thrilled with playing here because it doesn't even block the Danitha favorably, and the race is still in Seth's favor. Nor do you want to block the Deathbloom Thalid with it. You know how good it was in the previous game, so.
Glider gets in for another 2. Seth down to 16. Aaron here still contemplating what to follow up this attack with. We're just going to play a Skin Witch. Be able to block that Danitha, I suppose. Just a little 1-3.
All right, so he's just preserving his life total here. He could have obviously played that Sentry, which would have been better use of his mana, but he's...
Ooh, he also has an Adamant Will.
Effectively gaining 2 life here, and maybe even taking care of the Danitha if Seth doesn't have anything.
All right. Looks like he doesn't.
Okay.
Danitha down. Aaron Rubin down to 11.
The only thing about killing the Danitha there instead of the Deathbloom is that the Deathbloom still has a good attack into the 1-3. So, I mean, I understand you don't want the Danitha to hang around. The lifelink is super annoying, especially when you have a creature that can't block. So you're trying to get into some sort of a racing situation. It's just a little bit awkward.
All right, Danitha number 2 here for Seth Manfield.
Replacements.
You thought you dealt with her, but she's back. All right, I think that Aaron has Lyra in hand. Still just 4 mana, though. Glider in for another 2. Seth down to 16, and I think we're going to see the Sentry here. Yep. Passes back over to Manfield. And like you said, that Thalid now still has a good attack, and Danitha might as well get in. Gain 2. Seth back up to 18. Aaron down to 8. And there's the Howling Golem.
Yeah, especially if he does have that Lyra in hand, I think I might have wanted to try and kill the Deathbloom Thalid over the Danitha. Just because, again, the Skin Witch can block the Danitha all day, and even though Seth gains 2 life, if you can resolve the Lyra, you're probably going to outrace the opponent.
Yeah, Aaron's got some very good cards in hand, including that Lyra. I believe he also has Ansara's Wings.
Oh, geez, okay.
Which Seth passed pretty early in the draft.
And you said the right of Belzenlock as well, right?
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Stacked hand. Yep, and there's Yansera's wings to send the Skin Witch into the air.
Yeah, and because Seth didn't respond to that with a cast down, Aaron knows that it's not in his hand.
Wow. Take a read of that card. It has been so backbreaking in many a game in Dominaria. All right, a little flip-de-flop of the life totals there. Seth at 14, now Aaron up to 10.
Yeah, 2/4 flying vigilance lifelink. Oh yeah, and now it's legendary. All right, so that once again puts it on Seth to find Eviscerate, but the problem now being that
there's a Lyra in hand.
Seth needs to eviscerate the Skin Witch.
Yep.
He'll need to eviscerate the Lyra. Oh yeah, and then he's still facing down a 3/2 flyer and a potentially 6/6 flyer in a few turns when Aaron gets that Rite of Velzenlock online.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Seth Manfield. Aaron Rubin's hand is completely stacked. Even though he was just 2 seats to Seth left, they both ended up in the same colors. Aaron Rubin got some good stuff.
Seth making the attack with the Howling Golem here because even though it gives Aaron effectively a free 2 life, it does draw him a card. Ooh, but it looks like Adamant Will might have been the draw from that Howling Golem, or unless he already had it in his hand.
Yeah.
That is unfortunate for Aaron unless he has a fungal infection.
Oh, he does!
Brutal.
Sapperling token added to the battlefield there for Rubin off the fungal infection. Nice little 1-mana trick.
It'd be funny if both players drew their tricks off of the Howling Golem and were like, yeah, we got him. Oh, but a divest. Okay.
Oh, wow.
That is a very good way for Seth to deal with the Lyra. Now he only needs to find Eviscerate, and, you know, even though we know he only has 1 in his deck, it's going to be a lot easier to come back from this game now that he doesn't have to deal with the Lyra. Good draw. I imagine that was brought in from the sideboard.
All right, well, the Flyers are still going to be on the offensive here for Aaron Rubin, smashing in for quite a chunk of damage in the air. All right, and here's the right. We're going to get 2 0/1 Cleric tokens in Chapter 1. Chapter 2 will read exactly the same. In Chapter 3, you get a 6/6 Flying Demon, but you must sacrifice a creature. Otherwise, it deals 6 to you. Yeah, Seth Manfield just has no answers to what Aaron Rubin has going on and extends a hand. Aaron Rubin winning that match 2-0 over Seth Manfield. So Seth Manfield falls to 8-2. Aaron Rubin remains undefeated here at this Grand Prix in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
I thought Seth's deck was good. I said he would probably finish with a 2-1, so I wouldn't be surprised if he just rattled off 2 more wins here.
Yeah.
But Aaron's deck looked a little bit better, a little more of that power that he was looking for.
All right, we'll have more action down from the floor here at Grand Prix Dallas-Fort Worth after these messages. Hi there, welcome back to the booth here at Grand Prix Dallas-Fort Worth. Maria Bertholdi sitting alongside Kenji Igashira, a.k.a. Numot the Nummy, and we're watching draft here today on day 2 of this Grand Prix. We just saw Seth Manfield lose that round to fall to 8-2, and we've got Matt Severa's match coming up here. We just watched him draft, so it's going to be cool to see his deck in action. He drafted some Jund, and I hear, Kenji, that he's playing 19 lands.
Yeah, he's actually going 19 lands, which I guess makes sense. He's got a lot of the top-end cards, 2 Fight with Fire, 2 Slimefoot, so he does want to hit his mana every turn and eventually get up to even 9 or 10 mana. But
yeah, definitely got things to do with his mana,
right.
But we'll see if he stumbles a little bit or if he's able to pull it together. Let's take a look. Playing Stephen Pierce, who, rumors have it, has a lot of good cards in his deck.
A lot of legendaries.
Llanowar Scout here for Stephen Pierce is the first play of the game.
Yeah, he was running that in his sealed yesterday as well.
Back over to Matt Severa. Well, he's got his colors on turn 3.
Yeah, he's running a 8-8-3 split.
Wow.
8 forests, 8 mountains,
and exactly
3
what you want here. Slimefoot on
Sure.
turn 3, too. Couldn't ask for a better start here for Matt Severa. Divination here for Stephen Pierce.
Yeah, get that value.
Yeah, put that island onto the battlefield, Pierce.
Looks like Matt's going to be content to just
Yeah.
produce some saprolings here.
Stephen Pierce just kind of fixing up his hand here with Adventurous Impulse and a Divination last turn as well. Finds a forest to add to the battlefield. Oh, he has Urza's Ruinous Blast in hand.
Yeah, I think I see a Grun in hand as well, so he already has the capabilities of
Looks like he
casting it.
was trying to deep freeze that Slimefoot, but then he didn't. Fire Elemental there for Severa, just a 5/4.
Oh, what is that, a foil Teferi?
Oh, yes! Yes, Queen!
How good is it here? If he just... No, I don't think it's good enough yet. He's going to have to set up his board a little bit better before he can play out that Planeswalker.
Llanowar Envoy there in the meantime for Stephen Pierce. Fire Elemental is going to get in. Knock Pierce down to 15.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of brutal. I mean, at least for Severa, the Blast doesn't deal with Slimefoot, but we know that Pierce also has that Deep Freeze in hand.
Right. Oh, Zahid Jin of the Lamp here for Stephen Pierce.
Okay, so he has Zahid,
Holy cow.
he has Grun, he has Teferi, he has Urza's Ruinous Blast. This,
Oh my gosh.
This could get spicy.
This is going to be insane when he casts that blast if he managed to get all of his creatures out.
Yeah. Now, notably, Deep Freeze doesn't take care of the legendary type. So, Deep Freeze on Slimefoot prior to Blast would actually not be very good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would just end up exiling his own Deep Freeze.
Right, because it's just like base power and toughness 04 Defender
Right,
Wall,
exactly.
not erasing the creature type. Yavimaya Sapphire here for Severa.
I mean, Severa's probably got to feel pretty good.
He's like, I'm doing it.
Even though he's facing down a 5/6 flyer, like he has plenty of creatures on the battlefield. He can keep producing tokens for now.
There's Teferi.
All right, and that's a good turn for Pierce to play him out. Unlikely Zahid's going to enter the red zone since this is the play that Pierce has opted to go with. And I think I see a Fiery Intervention in Matt's hand. So what we're probably going to see is Matt attack quite a few creatures into the Teferi. Stephen Pierce is probably going to block a 1/1 with Zahid and end up either chumping the Fire Elemental with the Scout or the Envoy and either bouncing off the Sap Herd or trading with it. And then Fiery Intervention is going to take care of the Zahid, but then Pierce is going to have that back-breaking Ruinous Blast.
Pierce here +1 on Teferi, drew a card. Got to untap 2 lands at the beginning of his next end step.
All right, this is where we're probably going to see the swing from Matt. So my guess, what would you rather have if you're Pierce? I guess the Envoy is going to jump in front of the Elemental, Scout in front of the Sap Herd, Zahid in front of a token. Teferi takes 3 from the Saprolings. Intervention deals with Zahid. Pierce untaps, goes LOL, Ruinous Blast.
There's the fungal plots we saw Severa draft, and sure enough, here we go. Swinging for the fences here.
And this is almost certainly all going at the Planeswalker. So I think you want to protect the Planeswalker a little bit more. Again, either the Envoy trades for the Sapward or the Envoy chumps the Fire Elemental and the Scout moves to the 2/2.
Right. Pierce here still lining up his blocks. Yep, and that's how you said he would block.
And we're going to see that intervention post-combat main phase. Player's like, yep, here comes the damage. Slimefoot does trigger from the 1 Saproling.
Yep, Teferi down to 2.
And if you're Matt Severa, you got to feel real good about what's about to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're like, all right, I dealt, 3.
Got rid of your Zahid. All you have is that Envoy, and your Teferi's at 2. All right.
Here it comes.
Oh, boy. This is just going to be gross.
Does he have oh, and he drew the land, too, so he can actually blast here because he has the Teferi to enable it, and then Slimefoot away the, Deep Freeze away the Slimefoot. Holy guacamole, man.
Urza's Ruinous Blast here for Stephen Pierce.
Severa does get a little value here first because he has the plots, so he can sacrifice 2 of the Saprolings before exiling all these permanents. Yikes.
And Deep Freeze on Slimefoot. Wow. That was crazy.
Yeah, notably, though, Pierce is at 12 life, and we know Severa has, 2 Fight with Fire in his deck, as well as a Chronicler.
Yeah, that's true.
He might be able to just burn Severa out now that he has the 2nd Slimefoot. And we were just mentioning this earlier, Deep Freeze does not get rid of the legendary type, so Matt correct there to sacrifice the other Slimefoot, even though it was frozen. Yeah, here comes the value. Good old Planeswalker value. I don't think we've seen a Jaya Ballard cast this weekend, though.
No, we certainly haven't.
Yeah.
Girl from the Ashes here. Apparently there was one, at least in this draft. We never saw it.
Pierce must have taken it rather highly.
Sergeant at Arms here is going to be kicked. Going to give Pierce 2 soldier tokens. Slimefoot's going to do his slimy work here, make another Saproling creature for Severa. Teferi at 4.
Yeah, I mean, Teferi just going to take over this game. That's all there is to it.
Shivan Fire here takes down the Sergeant at Arms. Both creatures attack on in, probably at Teferi. Saproling will go down. Soldier dies to the Slimefoot.
Well, if Pierce can't find an answer to the Slimefoot, that it will still just take over the game. Like, the blast was amazing there, but if he doesn't have another good win con, it's just not going to be good enough.
All right, so Teferi is going to bury that Slimefoot. Put target non-land permanent into its owner's library, 3rd from the top.
Bury the Slimefoot.
Grun the Lonely King.
Whoa, and how's that for a quick
Wow.
clock from Pierce?
Comes in kicked. That thing's going to attack for 20 next turn.
Yowza.
Llanowar Envoy there from Severa just has to say go.
A sad intervention sitting in his hand.
Yeah.
Oh, God, there's the 2nd Ruinous Blast.
He has 2? What?
Holy moly.
What?
Hit you for 20?
You're at 3?
Oh, yeah,
Oh
by the way.
gosh.
Teferi going to keep drawing me cards? What is going on?
That was excellent.
Okay, so intervention deals with a spider, which is lethal. Does Matt have another creature that can chump the Grun for a turn?
All right, the Kavu.
When you're chumping with an untamed Kavu.
Yeah, but he kicked it just for,
God.
you got to kick it.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, Stephen Pierce, your deck is
And a
insane.
Thorn Elemental now, so it doesn't even matter that Slimefoot's going to be drawn. He can't chump.
Stephen Pierce takes down game 1 in just fabulous
wait.
fashion.
So what did we see? We saw Grun,
Yep.
Teferi,
Yes.
Zahid,
Yep.
2 Urza's Ruinous Blast. Were there any other legendaries from
that we saw?
Pierce that we saw?
I don't remember any other ones.
Jeez Louise. You talk about swingy spells. Holy moly.
I
mean,
love it. And we knew there was 1 blast in the draft. We did not know there was 2.
Right, but if you're Matt, you're like, what? The first one, okay. You know, I still had Slimefoot afterwards, but the second you're just like, come on, dude.
Untamed Kavu here, just a little 2/2 for 2. Sap here for Stephen Pierce.
Now, remember, if Matt had just drawn a single Fight with Fire in that match, things would have been vastly different. The Teferi would have been dealt with basically immediately.
He also has a Tatyova. I see it in his hand.
Okay. Well, it makes it like, if you have 2 Urza's Ruinous Blast, I'm guessing you have at least 5, 6.
Let's count them up, because I want to know what's the safe number here.
I'll take a look at his deck list here.
Rampaging Cyclops there for Matt Severa. And Alanowar Envoy for Pierce.
He's got Tatyova, Teferi, Zahid.
Blast takes care of the Envoy.
He has 2 Gruns.
Okay.
Oh, he has a Marwyn the Nurturer.
All right.
And
excuse me, Fiery Intervention. There's Teferi.
A few ways to dig from. 2 Divinations and 2 Adventurous Impulse. Okay.
This deck is sweet.
Yeah. Looks decent.
I really like this, building around this sort of legendary theme and using the blasts. Lots of creative deck building going on in Dominaria.
Yeah, I count 6 legendary creatures / planeswalkers, so a good number.
All right, well, Shivan Fire here takes down the Envoy. Cyclops is able to get in, knocking Pierce down to 16, Teferi at 2. But we all know that some bad news might be soon to come for Matt Severa. Deep Freeze on the Cyclops, going to shrink it down.
Ooh, that is a quick 6 mana tap.
Yes, it was. Pegasus Courser was the play last turn from Pierce. All right, it's the Worm. Sorry, Worm, I got bad news, but you know what? Sometimes the Courser just has to die. And there is the blast. Sure. Pegasus down.
And that's just to protect the Planeswalker here.
Yeah. Teferi's so important.
I think Matt's pretty happy with that, though, because like Pierce used not only Deep Freeze, but the blast, and it also got rid of his own Pegasus Courser. So, like, I understand protecting the Planeswalker, but from Matt's standpoint, that wasn't that bad.
Grun the Lonely King of his own here for Matt Severa. Won't die to another blast. Sergeant-at-Arms here comes along with 2 soldiers.
Yeah, that was pretty good for Steven, as we all know Grun doesn't have tramples, so.
Yeah, Tatyova in hand, as well as another blast for Stephen Pierce. Grun comes on in, but it's blocked by a soldier token, a sap herd here for Severa. And a Fight with Fire will take down the Sergeant-at-Arms.
Okay, he's just using his mana up efficiently and clearing the board as best he can to set up for a way to kill the Planeswalker here.
There's Tatyova.
Yep.
Land, draw a card, gain a life.
And Pierce has a lot of ways to gain card advantage.
Oh, yeah, he does.
We'll see if he wants to bounce the Grun here instead. That's certainly the more safe play, right? Just dealing with the problematic 5/5.
Teferi -3. Puts a Grun on Matt's library, 3rd from the top.
There's that Marwyn the Nurturer.
Fiery Intervention takes care of Tatyova. That's pretty good. All right, so Matt Severa has been able to clear off Pierce's board. Other than that, Teferi, he's going to tick up to 2 here.
Yeah, the problem is Pierce has just been drawing 2 cards every turn. It's so hard to come back from that, even if you have that much removal. Like we see Matt trading a lot of 1-for-1s. And Pierce, well, Tatyova, draw an extra card. Teferi, draw a million extra cards. Oh, hey, now I have a win con. What can Matt do?
Just plays the land and passes the turn.
And now it's Matt that has to chump block because that's 20 damage.
Matt's at 19, and here's the blast.
And there's the handshake. Just going to go for the kill, and wow.
Wow, he did it, Stephen Pierce. 2-0 over Matt Severa. Oh, wow. That was like, that was pretty rad.
So we saw Teferi both games. We saw 2 Urza's Blast, Runa's Blast both games.
Wow, incredible deck, Stephen Pierce. Love to see that kind of stuff. All right, well, we've got more Time Walk Magic for you, so let's head back on down. Here's Jack Dobbin versus Aaron Toby. Jack Dobbin, we saw draft a blue-white deck earlier when we were watching some drafts, and it's a very low-cost deck. Sarah Disciple there, one of the cards that fits that description.
Yeah, Sarah Disciple, not usually what you consider a great card, but Blue-White Historic is one of those decks where it generally does the most work. We're going to probably see a pretty aggressive curve from Jack. And wow, yeah, he's already just suiting up that Knight of Grace. And so there are a few reasons why he would do this, right? That the hexproof from black means he's not too scared, of Aaron doing something entirely too scary with black and green mana.
What can he do? He can pierce the sky, Arbor Armament.
Yeah, but it's a lot less likely you're running Pierce the Sky in your main deck, All
right, so Call the Cavalry here. We'll get Jack 2 Vigilant Knights. There's a Slimefoot for Toby.
Like, there's no fear of Eviscerate. There's no fear of Vicious Offering. That Knight of Grace
just never...
Yeah, that Knight of Grace just might win by itself if Aaron can't find 6 mana fast enough, right? Because he has the Candle online, or rather on the battlefield, but... Oh, baby.
Oh, short sword. Here we go. Sarah Disciple gets a trigger off that short sword, and a knight will carry it. And let's swing on in. This could be a fast one.
That's still 6 in the air.
So that Envoy trading off there with that knight token. No re-equip of the short sword. Slimy getting in there.
Slimefoot actually doing more harm than good as it's pumping up that Knight of Grace on Dobbin's side.
That's true. That's true. Baloth Gorger here from Toby.
Yeah, I'm thinking of what Aaron could have. He could find maybe a Mammoth Spider. That would do a really good job at blocking. But he is going to fall pretty low on this one attack, and so even if he does find a spider, and especially with the Davnant Trapper, yeah, it's going to just be really hard for Toby Toby to come back.
Toby scoops him up. Jack Dobbin taking down game 1 there very quick.
And that's how the Dobbin drew up his deck, right? If he doesn't win in the early game, it's going to be a lot harder for him to win a prolonged game unless he can somehow cobble together some trappers and get multiple tap downs in the late game, which is not, of course, impossible in this style of deck, but he'd rather the game end quickly.
All right, Knight of Grace back in play here for Dobbin, a Skittering Surveyor for Toby. Finds him a Plains.
Oh, this game's going to be over quick. Yes, Courser and Juggernaut.
Whew. All right, here comes the Courser. The Skittering Surveyor getting in there.
Yeah, it's a free roll attack because he can't block anyways.
Baloth Gorger, 4/4. Ooh, a Tempest Djinn in hand as well for Jack Dobbin. Can't play it yet.
No, I think he'd be very content just playing the Juggernaut here. So gets in for 3 unblockable, Juggernaut, and now he's threatening Juggernaut getting flying from the Courser.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. And even though, Aaron has the 4/4 on the battlefield, he can start attacking in and trying to race. It's just not going to end up in his favor unless he can find like an Eviscerate or something, and quickly.
Toby down to 15. After a very fast game 1, this one threatening to be extraordinarily quick as well. In comes Baloth Gorger, 4/4. These two of our undefeated players battling here, both starting today at 9-0. Joyra's Familiar for Toby.
And that's not going to do enough.
No.
The Courser can still give the Juggernaut flying here, and the Courser is not threatened by the 2/2.
All right. Take a million. Here's Bear to go. And that just, you know.
Yeah, that's a great sign for Dobbin. Because Aaron didn't have a removal spell with 4 mana available to him, it's unlikely that he's going to be able to do anything maybe outside of a Blessed Light if he hits his 5th land.
Yeah, and Toby having to pay that mana too if he wants to attempt to race. Really backbreaking as well, keeping his mana crimped from being able to deal with anything that Dobbin has going on in the air.
Yeah, he's doing his best to keep the race alive, but again, I think Dobbin is just... That Courser giving everything flying means these Skittering Surveyors, which would be great at, you know, finding his 3rd color, which he's done, getting some more lands, and even then chumping the Juggernaut later on is just, it can't do that anymore.
Yeah, still nothing going on in the air except for that Joyrus Familiar, which is not good at blocking anything.
Again, Slimefoot giving the Knight of Grace there another +1/+0.
Is that a consideration for you, just saying, well, I'm not even going to play with my Slimefoot at this point?
That depends. Let's see. So Jack would have 2 non-flying creatures. No, it's still fine to play it out because it blocks like the Baird.
Okay.
And you still have those 2 Skittering Surveyors to chump block. I think Jack just going through his options here. I saw a short sword in his hand. Did he have an Adamant Will as well? I think he had some kind of trick, so. I don't think you're going to be able to kill Aaron this turn unless he doesn't block the Juggernaut. You can kind of bait him here, right? You can play the short sword, equip it to the Juggernaut, see if Aaron blocks the Juggernaut. If he doesn't, then you can just Adamant Will to finish off.
True.
But this way, this is the safer play. So he's not forced to block here on one of the flyers if Aaron doesn't want to, right? That's 7 damage in the air, assuming the Juggernaut's gotten flying here.
Yep.
But he will have to, say, Slimefoot on Baird. Skittering Surveyor chumps one of the Knights. He's just going to go with the safer play, though, of chumping the Juggernaut damage.
Joyrus Familiar jumps in front of the Juggernaut, 2 Skittering Surveyors and Slimefoot all in front of Baird here.
Yeah, and it didn't really matter how Aaron blocked. This Adamant Will was going to get him basically any way he did it.
Adamant Will here takes down Slimefoot. Joyrus Familiar is down.
Yeah, notably the Knight of Grace is going to first strike for 3 damage before the Slimefoot dies, too.
All right, and that'll do it. Jack Dobbin, in a very quick match, takes down that match here in our first round of Day 2 action here at Grand Prix Dallas-Fort Worth. So we'll have more Magic action for you from the Grand Prix after this.